stick here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, this stick here. Do I have to prove it doesn't have a designer, or do you have to prove it has a designer?
It's a stick. It's a
And
manufactured
it has carvings. It has a little rubber ball at the bottom. You're obviously holding it. It's got a certain shape.
It's a manufactured article.
Exactly. Society said it's good. As an atheist, how do you decide between the two? Exactly. I agree with you totally.
It's not your job to.
I agree with you totally. And that's what that's.
Neither is its religion
No.
either.
Sir, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about God here.
What's got to do with it? It's like saying God is a leaf or God controls my breakfast cereal. It's got nothing to do with it.
It does, sir. It does. So let me explain how it does. God is the objective, is the one who gives us an objective criteria for right and wrong. And from an atheist perspective, sir, let me just say this point, and you can challenge me if you want. The concept that we are taught today of
Who's we?
in society today,
Which society?
Western society, this world today.
There isn't a particular society. There are
Okay,
different societies.
the way we are brought up here in London.
I'm not brought up differently from you. I can tell you that for start.
No problem. So let me give you my view.
Your view.
My view, right? And let's see if you guys want to challenge it. We are taught, or I am taught, or I was taught, there is such a thing as evolutionary humanism. You can be a human being who believes in right and wrong and good things and be an atheist. And what I'm saying is that's total garbage.
That's not.
I'll tell you why. Right and wrong is like color perception. That leaf is not green. Green is the color that bounces back at me. So a dog will see that maybe as gray or something else. So morality is nothing but an illusion of the genes to help you survive.
No. Morality depends on the society in which you're brought up. Who's this?
I agree. I'm not saying anything different to that. So where are we disagreeing?
But you're saying you're saying
yes, I am.
There is an absolute right. There is no absolute right as far as I know.
You're wrong in thinking that an atheist can be a humanist and can be a good person because can believe in good. Because from an atheistic perspective, right and wrong, good and bad, rule of law, morality, ethics, civilization is an illusion of the genes.
Because you aren't one. I am, and I'm saying you're talking rubbish.
Atheism
Absolute rubbish.
has got nothing to do with morality.
I agree.
It's got nothing to do with chemistry.
No.
It cannot justify it.
No, because it always is an answer to one specific question.
Do you believe in God? No.
It's like saying, for instance, what can biology teach us about astrophysics? Nothing, because it's not. They're completely different questions. Atheism is whether there's God or not, right?
Do I believe in Mama?
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
It's beyond the purview of atheism to have a view on anything. It does not. Because I'm an atheist, it doesn't give me a view on a tree. That would be humanist or evolutionary or whatever. That would have nothing to do with atheism. Nothing.
Okay.
That tree would stop every single thing in my life. So you believe involved whether there is God or not. It's got nothing to do with my atheism. It doesn't make any strictures.
Sure, I heard you the first time.
It can be a nice atheist,
So,
it can be a bad atheist.
do you believe that belief have implications?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just asking you a pure question here. The consensus amongst evolutionary psychologists.
You don't know them all. You don't know them all.
I haven't said anything yet.
You don't know. You can't speak for a group of people you do not know.
What do you call
Okay, sure. But if I'm no, I'm going to say a consensus.
But it's not true.
I said there's no such thing.
No such thing. There is
psychologists, but anyway.
No such thing.
Okay, I agree with you there because of other reasons.
Yeah.
But evolutionary psychology, as a general field,
What is evolutionary psychology?
Okay.
It doesn't exist.
Sir, okay, look, what it does is this. It looks at the evolution of our psychology, of our morals, of our belief systems.
How can you do that?
But they do that, it's a field.
That's philosophical.
Yes,
It's science.
That would just be the history and philosophy of psychology. That would not be the evolution. Because you add in the evolutionary thing, that is adding an extra concept where you can chuck in religion, and you can chuck in views, and you can chuck in everything else. Basically, you are talking the history of psychology. You are not talking. Okay, it does evolve in a certain way, but what you're using the word evolution and trying to sort of, in a strange way, to go, oh well, if we got evolution in the whole business, then it's got to be anti-God or whatever. So
no, I'm not.
Evolution is to do with development, that's all.
If you just say the history of psychology, or the history of morality, or the history of whatever, fine. But if you go the evolution, you're then putting in this extra thing that doesn't exist in evolution, which is the fact that evolution is working, this idea that evolution is working towards a point or a goal, which it isn't.
I agree.
Yeah, but I just think the wording, you're trying to obfuscate.
No, but firstly, let me break down each step, because I don't want to, maybe if I say 2-3 things, you'll challenge each one. Firstly, there is such a field as evolutionary psychology.
Yeah, but I don't know what it means.
Oh, one at a time. So,
he doesn't know what it means.
The field exists, yes or no?
I doubt it.
Tell us.
Okay, it does. You can look it up. There's books in it. Okay.
What does it mean? Tell us.
Okay.
What does it mean?
I hope you don't hit me with a stick. What it basically means is this. It means when psychologists are trying to look at the evolution of our brain and the way that we look and the way that we actually behave and why we actually behave in this particular way. And the most predominant view in evolutionary psychology is the view of the selfish gene, the famous Richard Dawkins view, which is that we exist and all of our actions fundamentally is about survival of our genes, or a maladaptation of them. Not in the organism, the genes, right? So for example, something like rape would be explained by evolutionary psychologists as a survival mechanism for the evolutionary losers.
No.
That's the field I'm speaking about.
You can't equate what people do, like the average person, with what is really going on. The evolutionary psychology, as you put it to me,
do you get my point?
Is an absurdity.
Yes, but we're beyond the biology.
The biology is so complex in the brain.
I mean,
they don't even understand it yet.
And I mean,
still not understood.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those slightly sort of dodgy bits of science where there's nothing proved on either side. Because you're basically saying because men are big and hairy, we have dominance over women or whatever. Because we're the more powerful ones. That's now slightly out the window. I mean, since women have been able to get guns, they're more, their ability to be more equal is sort of more in this country where they are legally equal.
No, what I'm actually speaking about, I agree with you totally. You can't.
It's a very dodgy.
No, sir, I agree with you totally. You can't get a value from a fact, right? You can't get a value from a fact.
What do you mean?
So what I mean is, just because the supposed theory says that we evolved in this way doesn't make us right or wrong.
It's hypothesis, not theory.
We agree there, right?
Yeah.
Right. But what I'm actually speaking about is something slightly different. I'm not speaking about can we get values from facts. What I'm speaking about is this. According to evolutionary psychologists, right and wrong is an illusion to help you survive. That's all it is.
It's an illusion for everybody.
It's an illusion for everybody.
We're all equal.
No, that is the view.
No, the point is, there are relative rights and relative wrongs.
I agree they're wrong. I agree.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, the way that we are taught today, the idea of evolutionary humanism.
Who's we?
As people.
Nobody's taught evolutionary humanism.
Who's we?
Nobody's taught.
Okay, are we not taught humanism?
No, nobody's taught.
Humanism, but not this evolutionary
No,
thing.
that's
But the thing is, look,
We've got it wrong. We started off with a whole bunch of bloody religions who had an idea on things. Nobody could get anything correct.
that's not true.
Yeah, okay, well, that's your point of view. But if you had you've got a Christian perspective, you've got a sort of Hawaiian sort of perspective, you've got all these other perspectives. You're in there. The actual how we got here is not important. It's what we do now. This is why this sort of modern sort of humanism started. With the idea of going, forget where you come from. Let's just work out a bunch of rules that will suit everybody, so you don't know the rule before you start. So your game, the game of life, is started where you have a rule. You don't know which cards you're going to pick up. You don't know whether you're going to be disabled. You don't know whether you're going to be poor. You don't know whether you're going to be rich. You don't know whether you're going to be gay. So you make the rules. You don't know whether you're going to be a paedophile. So you have a bunch of cards, and everyone's got to agree before the beginning of the game. Yeah, before the beginning of the game. Where are you? should we make a rule against somebody being a paedophile? And the answer is yes. Or at least the actions of a paedophile rather than not. They can't do what's in your head. And you don't know if somebody's going to be gay or not. You know, should we make a rule? Well, no, you might pick that card. You know, are they causing any trouble to anyone else? No.
But you would have to make a rule because the book says.
Yeah,
you have to make a rule because the rule says.
Yes, you're taking away morality. You're just doing divine command.
All I'm saying is everything that you've said so far, I don't disagree with, but it's all subjective.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
So?
No,
there is
So is God subjective?
I don't agree with that part. I don't agree with that part. Because when somebody comes along and says, for example, let me just define one issue where we disagreed about. When I was mentioning evolutionary humanism, I was talking about a man called Julian Huxley, who was a famous evolutionary biologist.
I know that.
And he was a philosopher as well.
Sort of.
Yeah. And what he used to do is he used to promote this idea of evolutionary humanism, right?
Yeah, but
and
it's his though, not mine.
Sure. But he wrote a book called Religion Without Revelation, and in this book, what he basically said is we atheists need to evangelize the world of a new religion of evolutionary humanism.
Yeah, well, in which case it was
That's him, but not anybody else.
But
Well,
I mean, you cannot,
we sort of agree there.
I don't.
I don't use that word, but yeah, we agree there.
I don't think evangelising anybody is a
You
good
can't
idea.
just jump down on one guy saying one thing
And
at
he's
one
in
point.
his 19th century.
Yeah, I mean, it's solid. I mean,
Okay.
otherwise, I could get you on every single philosopher who's ever spoken, and they all disagree with each other. If I pull one about one religious guy out, I mean,
7 cameras.
Oh,
7
God, I mean,
cameras on Chicken Man.
unfortunately, I was brought up as a Catholic years ago, so I've only
Jung was religious in his
Okay,
own way.
but sir, one thing I want to say, this was not a random man. Julian Huxley was the
it never took off. It was an idea that
no, it did take off.
It didn't take off.
It did actually take off.
No, it didn't.
Okay. I love your stick. But let me tell you why it did take off.
It didn't.
Okay.
It didn't with me.
Okay, sure. Let me explain why. He was.
I know what he was. I've read his books.
Yeah. He was the first president of UNESCO,
So?
the United Nations Scientific, Cultural, and Educational Organization, which is like the headmasters of the world, right? And what he did is he used that platform to propagate atheism and propagate evolutionary humanism. So he was a very big figure, and the fact that a lot of us in the world today we believe in humanism, it did take off, which is why we're all talking about it.
This is not important. This is the problem.
It is.
You are used to
Give me some water.
things coming from an authority. But so-and-so is an authority, therefore we should do it. Dawkins, for instance, is an authority on the glories of evolution. But as soon as he gets on to Brexit, he's a complete bloody nutter. So there is no concept which is above the man who gave it.
I agree.
Just because you're a mathematician doesn't mean you know anything about art.
Yeah.
And they ask you about art because you're a
And
mathematician.
just because some of the greatest things in the world were invented by really pretty awful characters, it doesn't mean, they're dead, it doesn't matter. We move on. The fact that, Adolf Hitler built a rather a good car, doesn't make Adolf Hitler a nice guy.
Or he's vegetarian too.
And he was a vegetarian, he loved his mum. And he was Catholic.
Doesn't make vegans bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make anybody else bad. It's just the one guy.
Sure, I agree, but
Don't take
you're
us
so
seriously.
used in your psychology.
We don't accept these authorities you're saying.
Yeah.
no, I agree with you there. But the majority of the schooling system in this country,
No, it
it
isn't.
teaches a type of humanism.
No, it doesn't. No,
It does.
No, it doesn't. There's C of E fields.
Well, it's been a while since you were at school.
C of E schools are C of E schools. Catholic schools are Catholic. You have an assembly in the morning that's a religious one, and I had to get special permission to say out.
Okay, do you know what? Let me prove it to you.
Oh, you won't prove it.
Okay, let me prove it to you.
What are you trying to prove?
I'm trying to prove about humanism being taught at schools
No, it's not.
as a religion.
No,
No, you cannot see humanism as a
you can't because there's nobody qualified.
I mean, in my children's
Okay,
school,
so-
they teach humanism as
Sure.
as a belief system. Yes, but not as a religion.
It's not religion. It's not religion.
It's not a religion. I mean, it's by definition not a religion.
Okay.
It's a belief system. It is a moral system and a belief system, but it is not a religion.
Sure. Sure. Now let me just explain. Let me just explain how humanism is being primed into school
But
children.
it's not humanism. It
Sure,
might be a lot of
sure.
things, but it's
Let me-
not
let me ju- let me ju-
humanism.
let me just give you evidence.
The humanist society would not say you're telling the truth.
Actually, they would.
They wouldn't say it's been told in every
They would.
story.
And I'll tell you
They're
why.
lying then.
The Humanist
Because it's
Society has even, the British Humanist Association,
Which I've known.
they've been lobbying the government to teach evolution at a younger age.
Evolution is not humanism.
I know, but,
Sorry,
but
it
I'm,
isn't.
I
even
agree.
against
I agree.
religion.
No, it's not.
I agree. But
No,
we're
I
speaking
don't
about
know.
evolutionary humanism. Now,
Yeah, no, you're talking about evolutionary.
Now,
humanism.
what I'm going to read out to
We're
you,
still not
what I'm
talking
going to
about
read out to you
follow.
is this. I teach maths tuition, and I was teaching my cousin the other day. There's an AQA paper for 2017 or 2016 of biology, right? Now, what it basically does is this. It teaches about Darwin's theory, not an issue,
You got it slightly wrong.
right? But then it goes into sociological issues, right? About priming people against religion. So here's one of the questions. In the 1870s, cartoons of Darwin looking like a monkey
Yeah.
were published in
Yeah.
magazines. The cartoons were published after Darwin wrote a book about the theory of evolution.
Yes.
Suggest one reason why cartoons of Darwin looking like a monkey were drawn.
I tell you why.
Right? No, sir. No, sir, one second. This is a sociological conditioning which they're making the kids think that only there was a religious
you haven't read the book.
religious
Have you read
opposition.
Darwin's book?
Yes.
Well, then
But
you
not-
say
no, sorry.
man and ape
Sir.
descended from
Sir.
the same common ancestor.
Sir.
And what they were
Sir,
doing
let
is
me just
ridicule
complete this.
Darwin. That's what
They're
they were
priming
doing.
kids. Look, sir, let me just complete this
No,
point.
they're ridiculing
Yeah,
Darwin.
sir, I didn't complete my point. They are priming kids to believe that religious opposition to Darwin is why Darwin was opposed.
Yes.
But this is historically incorrect.
No, it's not.
Let me
incorrect.
explain why. Let me explain why.
No, it's not incorrect.
Sir, one second. Religions did oppose him. That's true.
Still do.
But
Still do.
some of the people who opposed him were credible scientists,
Yes.
including Alfred Russel Wallace, who was the
okay.
co-founder with Darwin of the theory of natural selection, and he was an atheist, and he disagreed with Darwin afterwards. And he did not disagree on religious grounds. He disagreed on scientific grounds. And likewise, sir, one second. Likewise, a whole
You're
host
not
of.
listening. I read the whole debate.
So let me
What
just
they
complete my
did-
point.
no, the whole debate is this. Religion said, he said, man and ape come from the same common ancestor. They're saying this is nonsense, so we're all apes then. Nah. That's what they were doing to Darwin. Exactly what they
Sir,
said.
but-
And he didn't even say that.
Sir, and he didn't say that. I agree with you. But religions were not the only people opposing his theory in the beginning.
No.
No.
99%.
Okay. Let me give you some evidence.
I've read the original
Okay.
Victorian stuff. I know what they said.
I know. There's only one evidence I'm going to give you. Peter Bowler is a philosopher, is a historian of biology. He's the most prominent historian of biology.
I don't accept
Okay.
something I don't know.
Okay, but here's what he says. He's written a book called The Eclipse of Darwinism. And what he says is that at the beginning of the 20th century, Darwin's theory was being challenged by other non-Darwinian evolutionary theories.
I would challenge it.
Right? Yes.
On technical grounds.
Like, for example, Lamarckism before Darwin, orthogenetic evolution, and mutation-driven evolution, hopeful monsters. Right? So, what they're teaching in this paper is incorrect.
No.
Because they're look. Here's why I believe.
They're saying religion opposed it for this reason, which they did.
I love your energy, by the way.
Absolutely correct. What the whole.
Who cares? 100 years later,
Who cares
we
anyway?
all agree he was right in general.
In general, it was.
Do they believe that now?
What?
Do they believe that now?
80-90%.
Evolution, yes.
Yes.
But I mean, the natural selection is
It's a little bit more complicated.
It's more complicated.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, the Royal Society is the oldest society in the world, the oldest science society.
Only about 18,
But anyway,
Yeah, in 2016, biologists from across the world came together. Biologists who don't believe in God, don't believe in religion, anything like that. And the main question they were discussing in the Royal Society in 2016 is, was Darwin right in his main mechanism of natural selection? So to this day, we have differences amongst biologists about his theory, but the way it's taught at AQA level, at GCSE level, and at university level is true.
It's way above that level you have to discuss. Way above.
Yeah, because I mean, all that stuff is right. I mean, basically, he's 90% right. There are a few exceptions.
Don't offer drinks to other people. They might have hepatitis, and I can give it to you in the toilet.
I hope you don't.
Don't do this.
Only if you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But
You look like you can fight off hepatitis though, or any other disease. You've got some beans.
Beans.
it looks as if you fought it a lot.
Not those type of beans.
But I mean, Robert Darwin is, he didn't have a lot to work on. The amount of people and biologists who've gone around the world, you count on one hand. I mean,
So I'll tell you what the problem is.
So now we found out more and more. We've had the DNA or what have you. I mean, if you look at the phylogenetic tree that is now, which is the evolution of man, which goes through about 115 different things from the eukaryota, which are the first cells, all the way down to modern Earth.
Well, prokaryotes came before that.
Yeah, but let's
Right, okay, 116 levels of where we split off from other animals and everything else. That's pretty much accepted by all evolution stuff.
It's accepted by 99% evolutionary biologists, right?
No, the tree is, but the process of each
The process is slightly different.
Sure,
split
but when it says
slightly different one.
accepted, does it mean they believe it to be absolutely
No,
true?
it's hypothesis.
Good.
No. What is it? I'll tell you what.
It's still a theory,
Lamarck
but I mean,
And it's a theory which can be challenged by data,
It is-
and
has
it's based
been
on
done.
assumptions,
Look,
and it's based on probabilistic
There's
but
framework.
nobody's saying it's wrong.
what they're saying
some
is
are.
it's not complete.
No,
It's
not
incomplete.
really. I mean, only Ken Ham and one or two others
Look,
people
you-
believe
like-
in Noah's Ark. I mean,
No. I'm not talking about creationism or intelligent design. I'm speaking about, okay, the third way of evolution is a project run by non-religious biologists, and what they do is they challenge Darwin's theory using non-Darwinian evolutionary paradigms. But they still don't believe in God or intelligent design, anything like that.
it doesn't make much
Can I sort it here? Look, the problem with Darwin, if you have just
I wish I had your energy.
the natural selection, it's very, very, very slow.
I agree.
But the evolution process in brains has been very, very, very fast. So there's something else at work.
You're talking about
And what
cultural
they think-
evolution.
What they think that is else at work is a Lamarckian idea that the body is monitoring itself and actually changing itself during the life of the body. So it's not only selecting, but changing itself as well.
Absolutely.
Now,
And you know,
I suspected this 20 years ago.
And sir, do you know what? You're bang on right, because in the last 5-6 years, Lamarckian evolution has started to produce results Darwinism didn't.
Well, of course, you expected that, but Darwin's only a hypothesis, and Lamarck's hypothesis. If you get the two together, it makes more sense. I mean, for example, go to Cro-Magnon man now, it's 50,000 years, and it's an enormous advance. That couldn't have been done simply by selecting people. You select out the bad ones. Sports are very hard to do.
physically, yeah. I mean, there are other ways that
Even with the sport.
natural selection occur. But I mean, the idea of natural selection is still the correct one.
Oh, yeah, for the majority, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's 80%.
yeah, but I mean, it's rather like we know Newton was wrong about gravity.
Yeah.
I mean, but we only know it's wrong because I mean, still the moon goes round and you can do that all with Newton. But as soon as you get, you have to measure things accurately with clocks and what have you. Or deal with enormous amounts of gravity, then the whole of Einstein comes into it. So it's just
Or quantum theory at small level.
I'm going to
Yes,
now
and quantum
make
theory.
my arm younger than the rest of my body. Look at that.
It does.
Use and disuse.
Your lifespan is going to be different because you're near if you stand next to a fat man, if you marry a fat wife, your life is going to be different than if you married a thin one because it's like gravity. But I mean, only by about
So many zeros, you know what I mean?
So it doesn't make any difference. I mean, if you're trying to get a satellite to work, then you really need to get bang on, to umpteen thousand figures, and that's when it comes out. And it's the same with Darwin. We know that evolution happens. We know that natural selection does 99% of it. And there's one or two other bits. You go, well, actually, some bits can regress, and some bits can...
Well, that's the thing. It's not that Darwin's theory explains most and that we need other theories to explain subparts. According to some evolutionary biologists, we need a Kuhnian type of paradigm shift.
Yes, well, they might, but
we don't know about that. They have no evidence for that at all.
Well, they do. Some of them do.
No, it's more like
for example,
Lamarckian. It's more
yeah, but Lamarckian is non-Darwinian.
It may well be, but they laughed at Lamarck.
They did.
And rightly, because the things that were drawn, the conclusions...
Like the giraffe.
Were absurd.
But we know some of them to be correct today.
Well, what we know now is things like the growth hormone can travel across the brain, regenerating. You can see pictures of it doing it, and these things are built in. We didn't know about those. Darwin couldn't possibly have known about those. They couldn't have even seen these pictures because they didn't have electron ion microscopes. We're just learning now. All science is provisional. It's not absolute.
That's what I'm saying as well.
But religion claims to be absolute, and that is where I take our view.
Islam does.
Because if you're the Catholic Church, the Catholic Church actually... What?
You rewrite the book when you feel like.
Yeah, you make it up.
They rewrote Mark. Did you know that?
What?
You know, it says they went to where Jesus lived, they was buried, they couldn't find it, and they went and proclaimed the resurrection. No, they didn't, in the original AD 4, and they ran like shit and died.
But, sir, I want to gift you a copy of the Quran.
I've got one. So
You've got one?
Yeah, I got one from the last time, yes.
And with the annotations.
Excellent.
And I've read it.
I would like a short one.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you believe human beings need to connect to God?
Some people need to connect to the idea of God.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying to you as an individual.
No,
do you feel there's something missing in your life?
No.
Like without God, you can
I just die.
You just die.
Without feeling, I die, go into the earth.
And what happens after you die? I know we're moving away from the evolutionary part, but we've agreed there near the end anyway.
I die and dispersed.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. And what happens to these trees when they die?
They die and they're dispersed.
Right,
and eventually their molecular parts actually die as well.
Sure.
Because they have a lifetime of billions of years.
But sir, when these trees die, and then you get winter and these trees are dead, and then when springtime comes and water comes down, the plants, but even land, even you can have a barren desert, or you can have a barren area, and when you have water comes, it comes back to life.
Because the life's already there. It's a cheating.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the guy in
but it's dead.
Says,
but sir, before that it's dead.
No, it's not.
The land is dead.
They find crocodiles coming out in the middle of the desert when it's suddenly floods. They've been sitting underground all the time, waiting for it to get
No, but
away.
sir, okay. Let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Take the root tree out of the ground, leave it down, let it die. No matter how much water you chuck on it, it's not coming back. But at that point, it's dead.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing.
But look. Here's the thing. Plants die and come back to life. We can agree to this.
They don't.
Okay, the dead earth, you can have a barren land, which is no grass, no nothing, but rain comes.
No seeds.
Seeds are there.
That's life.
That's life.
Okay.
It's
now look,
stasis.
we can get into the definition of life, and this is where it gets technical. What is life? What is not? A virus is alive. Forget that. The point I was trying to get to, and I got distracted, is this. God says in the Quran, just like the plants will come back to life, so will you.
Yes, but that's...
And look, I'm sure you've heard the design argument, the ontological argument, whatever. I just want to say one message to you, which is this.
You're fucked.
I can't... I'm not condemning you. I'm not condemning you. And I wouldn't swear at you either. All I'm saying is this. Try to pray to God and ask for guidance.
Why?
God.
Because if you really want to know God, it's going to be rationality on its own without spirituality will not take you anywhere.
I don't believe in the devil, God, and demons. All
That's
the things
fine.
are creation of minds.
Sir, all I'm speaking about is God. I'm not speaking about anything else. All I ask you to do, maybe not today, maybe another day,
Never.
Maybe you'll change your mind. You're an open person, aren't you?
Not in 65, 66 years I have.
Oh, you're young.
I'm 65.
You've got more energy than me.
And hell, no, I don't believe it. I still don't believe it. I was brought up in a very, very religious household, very religious, and Torah-obeying Christians. Yeah. And
now you're a Druid.
Something like that, but an atheistic one. And I never took it in, and I never take it now. I just don't believe it.
But sir, isn't it true that you're 65? Aren't your views different to when you were 25?
They're more solidly born again atheists than ever.
No, but what I'm saying is we change our minds through our lives.
Yeah, and it's made me stronger to believe that there is no God.
Well, you may change your mind in a few years' time.
I don't think so.
Well, being open-minded, you should consider that as a possibility.
If you could show me evidence, and I've never seen any evidence, I've asked for it time and time again, never.
Sir, the whole world is evidence.
That's not evidence.
But there's a caveat here.
Of anything.
But if a person,
it says it's the devil.
If a person sincerely asks for guidance, they will see evidence everywhere. If somebody does not want guidance or does not seek it, they will not see evidence anywhere.
Yes, but how come people go and seek evidence and guidance from God? They just end up thinking different things to each other.
I can't access someone's mind. I can't know whether somebody sincerely asked for guidance, they didn't get it. I can only
Shia
give
versus
you.
Sunni.
Well, no, Shias are still Muslim.
Shia versus Sunni.
But we're speaking about atheism and Islam.
Oh no, they got revelations, but they have different revelations.
No, but they don't. They believe in the Quran. The Shias believe in the Quran.
What about Christianity?
Yeah, but they also believe about the descendants of Muhammad. And other people say that's bollocks.
There's a couple of guys over there. Who
nobody can be.
It's a little bit more complicated than that.
No,
it is a little bit more complicated
who
than that.
was assassinated?
We do this.
Can you? But is a son or daughter of somebody as holy
They believe
as
in
they are,
look.
or can be
Long story short, they believe in God. They believe in God. We believe in God.
I've read the history. It's that thick. And
it's longer than that.
No, it's 2 big books from Cambridge and another one, and these on top.
But if you don't read any book about Islam, Cambridge is not the place.
This is the origin. It's a studious work on
But if you've got
done by Orientalists, most likely.
done by people who are doing history. They talk about the early caliphates and wars, constant wars.
But which civilization did not?
If they were all thinking the same thing, why
So
would they all
let's
start
look at.
believing
Okay,
differently?
so for example, atheism, right? Atheists fight each other.
Yeah, but
the
it's
Soviet
not a
Union.
belief, it's a non-belief. It's not positive.
That's fine. Even if you want to
It's
call
not
it a
a belief
non-belief.
in. It's a belief there isn't. It's
Well,
different.
that's your definition of atheism. Other
that's
people have
anybody's.
different definitions.
No, there isn't. I only do not believe in God.
No, that's your definition.
No, that is the definition.
Okay, sir. What about
This is
people?
this is not
What
a
about
different sort
strong
of belief in
atheism,
God.
weak atheism, mesotheism, agnostic atheism?
Agnostic, they're not atheists. There's no agnostics.
Okay.
agnostic is
But there is such a thing as agnostic atheism.
Agnostic-
You guys can't agree amongst yourselves, so if you want to say Shia Sunni, same with you guys.
There's no such thing. no.
Atheism is point blankly just don't believe in God. Agnosticism.
See, you don't believe in God.
So show us
What does that
evidence.
mean? That's a claim.
We don't know if it's unknowable or not.
No, it's
Let's
just
say
that.
something not-
I mean, otherwise, you're a non-stamp collector. I mean, if you want to put it in a category as a, it's no, because all I'm saying is I don't believe.
Sure.
Yes, it is a claim that I don't believe. Yes, that is a claim. So there is no way.
And there's no
you can
evidence for
battle
that.
What?
There's no evidence for that claim.
No, because it's personal.
No,
That's fine.
No,
I agree. I
You
agree.
have to show evidence for us to believe something. We don't have to show evidence for
But I
us.
mean,
Okay, sir, let me ask you a
if you
question.
believe cheese doesn't
This
taste
stick
very
here,
Which stick?
this stick that you're holding.
What stick do What stick's that?
You're a funny guy, man. This stick here, okay.
Yeah.
Right, this stick here. Do I have to prove it doesn't have a designer, or do you have to prove it has a designer?
It's a stick. It's a
And
manufactured article.
it has carvings. It has a little rubber ball at the bottom. You're obviously holding it. It's got a certain shape.
It's a manufactured article.
exactly.
Therefore, but these aren't manufactured articles.
No, but that's your
We're not getting
assumption.
to the watchmaker, really. are we?
Absolutely.
That's your assumption.
Yeah.
So if you're
I
saying
tell you-
I need to
tell you-
prove that I need
you
to.
do.
No, but you disagree.
Especially if I can't see
No,
the maker.
no.
There's no stamp I made by God.
Yeah, but I didn't see who made this.
Yes, but you can see it's made.
By
That isn't.
by looking at that, If anybody says there is no designer, the onus is on them to prove it.
No,
Right,
for
no.
design,
And
no,
my eye
no,
is
it's
more
just different
complicated
from
than any
no.
camera in the world. My brain
Okay.
is more complicated than any computer.
Okay, look,
Same with the computer.
no, you're
So
right.
the atheists need to
Computing
disprove the
arguments.
designer.
No.
We don't need to prove one.
You're confused.
No, you've got to think. Where's your... Okay, fine. The trees were designed by somebody, or whatever, if you like. Now show me something that wasn't designed by God.
I don't believe anything was not designed.
Well, let's just...
Where's your evidence? Where's your
This
evidence?
is the problem. You're trying to get an economy with some people saying, I mean, why bother with the designer when everything looks exactly the same whether it's designed or undesigned? I mean, you're in an unnatural world. You haven't got anything that's undesigned. You would pick up something and go, oh, this looks designed. That's been designed by God.
So what
This
does that
has been
show?
designed by
That
God.
shows...
So you're pointing to a stick
This
that's
is
something that's been built.
This is a manufactured article. They aren't.
Yes.
They come
Okay.
whether I have this stick or not.
Sure, sir. Why is this manufactured?
Because it's a stick with a furrow on it.
Right, and carving and whatnot. Okay,
Yeah, that's what I did.
sure. Do you know that every single cell in your body has more information than all the books in the British Library?
What do you mean by information?
I
we're
mean
getting into that one, right.
specified complexity, coding, which tells the body how to function. I could take your cell and make a blueprint out of it.
It doesn't actually do
So
that.
clearly, if this is manufactured, so is that.
It's a recipe.
But sir, look, we're not going to agree.
It also depends on the acidity and alkalinity of the
Sir,
environment.
sir, we're not going to, sir, we're not going to agree, and the reason we're not going to agree is not the evidence, but the way we approach the evidence. If you approach the evidence from a perspective there is no God, all you'll see there is no God.
Show me.
But if I come to the evidence with an open mind, you don't even need to think that long.
Does it say God on the tree or you? No.
Yes, but does it say God on the stick?
No, because it's a made article.
Exactly.
You're not a made article like the tree.
No, but
You'll
that's an
exist
assumption.
forever. No,
That's an
unless unless your parents had nothing to do with it. Maybe it's beamed down from another planet. Anyway,
We're not going to agree because of our a prior beliefs, but it's great speaking to you. What's your name?
stick man.
Charles.
Charles, good to see you guys. Thanks for your time. No. You know, we're gonna put the whole thing up. Thanks. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. What I was trying to get to, the last point I think is very, very important. If a person has a sincere heart, they'll see evidence everywhere, but if a person doesn't want to believe, you'll see nothing. So it's not about the evidence itself, the way you approach the evidence. So Allah says in the Quran, I'm paraphrasing the verse here, whoever sees is for their own benefit, and whoever doesn't want to see, they basically don't see. So it's not exactly about the evidence itself, it's about your heart. Also, you could know with 100% certainty that smoking is bad for you, but you still smoke. Rationally, you know it's bad for you, but you still do it. So rationality on its own does not lead to guidance. You actually have to have a spiritual element as well.
يا ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء وسخاء يا نجما شع فأبهجنا يا شعلة نور وضاء يا ديمة خير وعطاء ويمام نقاء